Hey everybody, Stuart here. I just got into the Naxx expansion today in Hearthstone, just came out today, and wanted to go over the decks that I used to finish the heroic bosses, Anubrekhan, Faerlina, and Maexxna. So for Anubrekhan, Anub has souped up power in heroic, where she can summon a 4/4, let's see, a 4/4 Nerubian for 2 mana. So she can get some pretty beefy minion coverage going on the board pretty quickly. So what I tried to do to counter that was I wanted to get my own even beefier minions out. So this is the deck list that I used. It's a druid deck. It's based around basically trying to get to my high mana cost, high value minions as soon as possible. Ideal draw would be an alarm bot, innervate, and then like a high value like a Ragnaros or a Gruul. And that way you could throw down innervate and the alarm bot on your very first turn and get one of the high value guys out. Actually tried doing that once, and she managed to destroy the alarm bot on her first turn. I don't even remember what the ability she had was, but in any event, the way that I ended up winning was just kind of getting up to my Sunwalkers and having that 4/5 with a Divine Shield. I was able to clear several of those 4/4s off the board pretty quickly, and then get into my higher value targets, or my higher value minions with Ragnaros. So anyway, and I also was able to use like the Mark of Nature to make sure that when I got like a Ragnaros or a Gruul out, I could give that one taunt as well as like the Ironbark Protector. So they had a lot to chew through to get to my hero, and eventually I was able to get a wall up and take Anubrekhan down relatively slowly. You know, you could probably do without these alarm bots, and you know, I have a few heroics or legendary cards here. Maexxna from earlier doing the normal mode, but anyway, you could probably swap out a few of those and just get some other high value targets and be fine. So next, Grand Widow Faerlina was probably the one that I had the hardest time with out of the three. I tried messing around with a few different classes, and I ended up going with a warrior. So real quick, I'll just show you the heroic ability of Grand Widow Faerlina is basically however many cards you have in your hand. She, for only 1 mana, she can shoot down a missile, which semi-random damage for every card that you have in your hand. So if you have, like, say, 7 cards in your hand, she does 7 damage across your board. So what I did, you know, thinking about that, I'm like, well, how can I make that a strength? How about using a deck that it's good when things get hit for a little bit of damage? So centered around the Frothing Berserker, whenever a minion takes damage, you get 1 attack. Armorsmith, same concept, and a lot of other kind of direct damage things that I can get out rather quickly. I got a really nice situation to use Cleave right off the bat, I think, in the time I ended up winning, but I pretty much won either the first or second game when I switched to this kind of a deck. You have a lot of, you know, direct damage with the weapons. I managed to get an Arcanite Reaper and an upgrade, I think, and I didn't even get to I think the game was more or less finished by 7 mana, turn 7, so you could probably consider swapping Gorehowl and Grommash out for some other cards. I did use Brawl, but in any event, if you can kind of get it centered around this Frothing Berserker, get him out before you have too many cards in your hand, get him buffed up for a few turns, you can knock that 45 health down, since they do have 45 health instead of 30 in Legendary. Then the last one, Maexxna. I thought this was kind of a really interesting fight. Every round, the first thing that she'll do is remove 2 random minions from your side of the board and put them back in your hand. So I kind of thought about that. I'm like, well, that could be a good thing if I have some minions that I'm using Battlecry for. So she summons a bunch of 1/2 Spider Skitterers that summon the 1/1s on death. And so the strategy that I ended up going with was I used a Hunter because they're good at having a lot of direct damage out without having minions on the board. And what I did was tried to get it to a situation where she'd have 3 or 4 of those skitterers out, then I could throw out a explosive trap, and then her board would be covered with 1/1s, and then what I actually ended up doing was throwing out a Timberwolf and Unleash the Hounds, and that gave me 6 2-damage hounds, and she's stuck with a board full of 1/1s and can't summon anything different. Although after I did that one turn of 12 damage, she did, kill a few of them. The AI isn't quite smart enough to figure out to clear the board. They keep attacking and hitting face with the 1/1s. And so I was able to kind of keep soaking her down. Kind of the other strategy I was trying to do was keep that board filled with 1/1s and then use some of my healing guys like this one to, restore 6 health every time. So if you're going down 7 then going back up 6, and you can use your 2 damage hero ability, that's another way to kind of wear her down, and then maybe throw out the Unleash the Hounds combo and get some of your other damage in there. She does have the guys that destroy weapons in her deck, so be aware of that. I did want to try to get my Eagle Thorn bow going with some traps, and that didn't end up working out as well. It did end up just being kind of a face race, if you will, when I did end up getting her. So another good card to have, when you're thinking about like battle cries and things like that. Here are cards that'll do good even though they get removed from the board right away. So thinking about having a silence is really nice, especially with a lot of those cards that they have in their decks that have like the death rattle and other kinds of abilities like that. So however you end up doing it, if you go with a hunter, I'd highly recommend a silence and some of these heals. So anyway, that's how I ended up beating the 3 heroics. If you have any questions about my decks or about the encounters in general, let me know. Pretty fun, different than the typical arena and constructed decks, so it's nice for a little change of pace. Hope you liked the video, and look forward to seeing you back here watching more videos in the future. Thanks.